This is It's Not in the Syllabus podcast, the how-tos of a student beyond classroom walls. This is the podcast where you, yes you, get to learn what they don't teach you at school and ace that test called life, or at least get a passing grade and get by. It's Not in the Syllabus is a podcast brought to you by the Adventist International Institute of Advanced Studies, together with the Student Association, where we feature stories by the students and for the students. Join us as we discover life lessons you'll surely need.
Welcome to It's Not in the Syllabus, the how-tos of the students beyond class wall. This month we are talking about the challenges and opportunity of 21st centuries. And today we are going to talk about digital identity and online culture. For us to understand this topic, we brought two experts to help us understand what is this digital identity and online culture. So with us today we have Sir Faelmar Tanada.
Yeah.
I will introduce them later. And then Sir Miguel Taipe.
Yeah.
Taipe, that's it. So Sir Miguel Taipe is the online director. Is it online director or
IT.
IT director of AIIAS, and Sir Faelmar is the network administrator here at AIIAS. So how are you doing?
Hi, Develop. Thank you for inviting us. We are very happy to participate in this.
All right.
Let's start it.
All right, good. What about Sir Faelmar? How are you?
Yeah, we're well, to be honest, I'm kind of conscious because we're being recorded. Yeah.
No, it's
But
good.
yeah, we're good. We're good.
Good.
It actually is a privilege and honor that we can participate in this endeavor where we're pushing, the boundaries of learning.
Correct.
That the learning is not just in the syllabus.
Yeah.
It's not on the four corners of the classroom.
Beyond.
It's reality, the environment where we live, and so it's like that. So
Yeah.
hopefully this is going to be informative for our viewers.
Correct. So one thing about Sir Faelmar and Sir Miguel, I had taken class with Sir Faelmar. I think was I the worst or somehow. Anyways, I took class with him, and then also took class with. Sir Faelmar taught me. Is it a database?
No,
Networking.
that was networking. Yeah, networking
for my
yeah.
masters, and Sir Miguel, we took class together for our NBA. What this was organizational behavior with Dr. Tiengo. Oh, it's been a while. So let's dive into our conversation, beginning with the question for us to understand digital identity and online culture. So what are the key elements that contributes to a personal digital identity? When you talked about identity, what are some of the key elements? Let me begin with Sir Faelmar.
At least from what I understood, is that when you're talking about digital identity, especially here in AIIAS, we just recently started, taking up attendance. How do we do that? Do not put that on paper. Just put that on, on the database. And so the primary key component for identifying an employee was to get the biometrics.
Okay.
So for that biometrics, we get the face.
All right.
We have to capture the face and then, adjust the depth so that it really gets the 3D face.
Yes.
That even with a mask, they would still be identified as such. And then, of course, we get the unique fingerprints. We have the thumb and then the index, right and left. And so that when they are going to time in, the time attendance device sees their face, even if they're passing by. Attendance is being checked.
Right.
You would know that it's them. And so somehow
Okay.
their identity have already been digitized. So one of the components there is biometrics. There are probably more, but that's the first thing that comes into my mind is biometrics.
What about you, Sir Miguel?
Well, aside the biometrics are, for example, the behavior you have using your devices, like locations where you're using.
Okay.
Also, the purchase behavior.
Purchase behavior.
Several entities wants to use that information to approach you with better advertisements. So
Correct, correct.
they use that information to build a profile of you, and that becomes part of your identity there.
So organization do they also have this customer management where they get information from the customer based on the digital platform they use. You mentioned about algorithm. I believe that's correct. But let me dive into the second question. To what extent is our digital identity a choice, and what extent it is shaped by algorithms, social pressures, and other external forces?
Whew. Yeah, maybe Miguel wants to go first.
Well, I'm happy that when I heard Pastor Mercado talking about our presence in the internet, what is our goal? What do
Okay.
you want to share? So it depends what you are looking for
Okay.
to drive what pressure you will allow to happen into your the content you post, the frequency that you post, and the information you are going to share in the different social platforms.
Okay.
So that one, that information you're sharing becomes part of your history that you
Okay.
have there.
It's true, it's true.
So there are ways how you can prevent that, depending of the way how you manage your social platforms. You can limit the access to certain friends, or it could be public. So it's up to us how we are going to use that.
All right. Very good. Safilma.
Yeah, let me just base this answer to what I've observed from my son, because he's currently now taking media arts, and then he is also a content developer. And at some point when he was developing content, he kind of like was in a place where he was looking for his digital identity, meaning how is he going to have his projection or project his image into the digital world. And so I told him, look, that depends on what you really want to for people to
know.
perceive and to know about you, or to see you as who you are, or maybe something else. And so in my observation, what happened was that, and this is where the algorithm comes in, because you would know, because at first he will be testing, some contents. And then there are some contents that you will notice there are more views than the other content he created.
Correct.
And it is because of that, the more views that means something, right? So that would mean that the direction of your persona is going to move towards where there are more views. And so I told him, look, there are some times that I wouldn't even recognize you as my son. Because what you are when I see you on YouTube is not the same that I see you when we're inside the house.
Yeah.
Okay, so this brings us back to your question.
Yeah.
Is it decision or is it by algorithm? I think it's both.
Both.
But for Christians, I would say that it has to be a decision.
All right.
Because whatever we think, do, say, if your intent is to glorify God, then that is going to dictate
All right.
the type of image that you're going to pursue, like Pastor Mercado, as Miguel have mentioned.
Yeah.
And so it's not only his image, but he is bringing the church's image. He's also bringing the image of God to the people and how they perceive. Because sometimes, when you say God, I believe in God. And sometimes my sons are going to tell me that. But seems like God is just a terminology.
Oh.
And it's no longer experiential.
Correct.
And for a Christian, identity is really very important. So it doesn't really matter whether it's digital or it's in reality. But sometimes there's already a blur between reality and virtuality.
Virtuality.
Because again, there's that algorithm, and then at least for me,
Yep.
I think it should be a choice.
A choice.
Yeah, and we should not be dictated by the algorithm,
Right.
because sometimes the algorithm can be very misleading,
Mm-hmm.
and then our identity is going to be compromised.
Actually, it brings me to a question that, as I listen to both of you saying, the question that I want to raise is, what is it? What is digital identity? And how, as a Christian, can we portray our identity on the platforms, on social media platform? That would be the two questions. So what is digital identity, and how can, as a Christian, as a Seventh-day Adventist Christian, we portray our digital identity on the platform, social media platforms?
Yeah.
And the reason why I'm asking these questions is because the experiences that you have with your son, and I also have experiences. For instance, I like watching soccer. For some would say football, but for us it's soccer. I like watching basketball, and whenever I click on those soccer and basketball highlights, it suggested other soccer and basketball highlights that I've never watched. On the other hand, on Facebook, I'm not so much on following people and liking things or comment. I go there, I post, and I leave. But when I go to YouTube, when I watch soccer and basketball, it suggested other videos. So that is one also because of the algorithm. But when it comes to my identity, it doesn't change because I'm only watching, I'm not posting content, for instance, on YouTube. So how can, as a Christian, we maintain our digital identity on those platforms? Does it depend on what we watch? Does it depend on what we post? How do we understand that way? Especially for you as a networking administrator, Faelmar.
Wow. Yeah, well, if you're going to put that in that context, network administration identity for us is, well, there are two types of identifying a network device. One is what we call the physical identity, and then there's the logical identity. Physical identity, there's somehow it's more permanent. Regardless of what they do, you cannot change it.
All right.
So meaning, if a network card is damaged, you just have to replace the network card because it's damaged, and then that's it. And that's the identity of the machine. And then the logical identity is that even if you replace the network cards, the logical identity, the address is still going to be the same. And that happens to us too. That like, how many providers do we have?
Yes.
We have Globe, we have PLDT, and then even if we move from PLDT to Globe, let's say for example, www.ias.edu is still ias.edu.
Yeah.
And so it drills back to your question, what is identity? And so when people will ask, well, what exactly is IAS? And so this all depends on, and again, probably most of the students or how we interact with people would even know what IAS is, because even in the Adventist circles, they don't even know what IAS is.
Correct.
So what is IAS? And sometimes they would have to. Sometimes they would in a funny way they would say, in Tagalog they call it ahas. Ahas is snake because it's close to snake. Instead of IAS, ahas. And some of the conductors, when you ride the bus, say, all right, bababa ng ahas. That means this guy is dropping down to IAS, but they're missing. But it also brings us to, especially right now, if you have seen the trend in YouTube, we are the blockbuster in YouTube now, Seventh-day Adventists, because of the recent developments. So going back to your question, how do we let people see us as Christians, or let's say as Seventh-day Adventists?
Correct.
And that is very important. Again, it goes back to the previous question. It's a choice.
It's a choice.
How would we want them to know us, and how would you want others to know you as you? And so that's what I told my son. Look, because now, and you can only blame yourself because he made some content, and people like that particular content, and those content were like a little bit naughty content.
Yeah.
And then when people see him, oh, you're the... And then they associate his identity with that persona. And so he cannot take it back.
Yeah.
So it was a good thing that something happened. And something happened, and then he stopped. and so now he has to reset.
Correct.
And so I said, now you've learned from that, see how you're going to perceive. So again, yeah, I think it's choice.
Choice.
It's a choice.
All right.
We, as Christians, we are not to be dictated by algorithms.
Mm.
What if people don't like your content?
And it happens.
But your intent is for you to share the truth.
Yes.
You are to share redemption and salvation through Jesus Christ.
Correct.
You have met your requirement. That's it.
All right.
But if you are going to look at the algorithm, the number of views, then you try to, and then it changes your identity.
Yeah.
And so that, I think that's also a danger. That's a danger. There's danger there. But yeah,
Good.
it's difficult now to say. Digital identity, man. That's really shaky because there are people who have different personas online
And then face to face.
and face to face.
Correct. And I'll come to San Miguel. Let's just make a follow-up. And the follow-up is based on the content that we share. As a Christian, I believe we are to portray our identity. It shouldn't be in two stages. What you share online should be what you also live. So in fact, we say your life should be the sermon, either online or
offline.
Offline.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we have a ministry. It's called Agape Ministry, and it's been there for 7 years. It's a digital ministry. We do content with videos and sort of those things. But over the years, for 7 years now, we are only reached to 1,000 likes, or in terms of followers.
All right.
7 years
Subscribers.
subscribers. But when you actually go to contents that are not somehow very out of nowhere, you see millions of viewers.
Yes.
And believe me, if you're a digital evangelist, it's actually you begin to think, am I doing anything wrong here? You know, if your channel is only 1,000 viewers, but this guy who is posting naughty stuff, it's boof. So I believe with you that it's about choice.
Yes.
We have to maintain our choice. San Miguel, what is your take on that?
In the real world, we have actors and actresses. When they are being portrayed in a movie,
Yes.
they can do several things that they won't do it in real life. But they are doing for content, part of the movie.
Yes. For money.
Entertainment content.
Entertainment,
The
correct.
same happens in the internet. Many are doing controversial content just to get attention,
Correct.
and that attention helps them make money. So
I think I should change my content.
as he said, it's a choice. What you're going to post there, it depends on you. But what is your purpose of being there? What I want to add there is sometimes these people who post contents doesn't need to be the same person in real life. In real life. Because what they were doing there is just for making money.
Money, yeah.
The same happens, for example, for those singers who has very unique haircuts and the way how they make up or dress. The fans sometimes doesn't understand that difference, and they are wearing like that in the everyday. So, and the real actors or those singers in real life, they look like common persons. So they already understand what's the difference between being in the stage and also at home or doing their normal lives. The same happens in the content in the internet. We find persons who are doing those kind of things. So we have to be careful what we are following, and also we choose what we are following, because every page you visit, every like or follow you do also helps to build your digital identity.
Right.
Well, I like that. It's actually helpful. So how do online culture shapes and influence the development of digital identities? How does the online culture shape? You mentioned about what you like, what you comment, it actually brings others related content. So how those online shapers the development of identity?
Yeah, I think it's related. It's related to the previous question, because how does it relate? It actually shapes up.
Correct.
It shapes your direction, because, like you said, you've had this ministry for 7 years,
Yeah.
and seems like your content is not making sense.
Yes.
Because for 7 years and you only have 1,000.
Yeah.
And then there's this other guy, he just posted some nonsense and then gets millions of views, and so people like this type of contents. But I think the real question is, again, how would you want, or how do you see yourself, and how would you want others to see you, online and offline? And I think it is very clear for us. It would be difficult to understand for non-Christians, because for us, we have this relationship that we wanted to maintain. And this is a close relationship with God.
Correct.
And it's because of that relationship we wanted to maintain this type of relationship. And so that's why Apostle Paul says, but let this mind be in you, which is in Christ Jesus. You know what? Whatever you do, think, or say, do this
For the glory
and do
of
this
God.
everything. If it glorifies God, do this to the glory of God. And so with that in mind, it would dictate how you're going to let people see you. And because, again, like Miguel was saying, there are some people, even offline, that during the Sabbath, they're like this, but if it's not the Sabbath, and then you would really say that they're Seventh-day Adventist, only on the seventh day.
Sabbath. But not online.
Yeah, only on the seventh day. So that's why they're Adventist only on the seventh day. But maybe we should change our name somehow to 7 Days Adventist, because we're not only on the seventh day. So and so again, identity is very
Bro.
it's this is how people know you. So when you say identity, how would you like people to know you? Are you the wise guy? Are you the shy type? Or are you this religious, really strict guy? These are images of you. These are images of you. And so for some people also, especially for the Jews, let's say, for example, no pun intended, but for the Jews, they see God as a God who is law imposing, that if you don't follow, this is what happens to you. But like Jesus breaks that paradigm, and he says, look, if you love me, keep my commandments. And so again, it's a choice.
Correct.
There's that decision. How would you want people to see you? How would you want people to see us? Well, Matthew chapter 5 verse 16 says, let your light so shine before man, that when they see your good works, they're not going to say you're good, but they're going to say your Father in heaven is good. I think that is the type of identity that we should move forward. We should go and we should be identified with, because you've seen the Olympics, right? The opening ceremony. That's well. Anyway, we're not going to be bashing it, but you can see the direction.
All right.
Yeah, because now that's the trend. That's the trend, and so people just tend to go to that direction. But the important question is that how do we let people know us, and how do we let them see us as we are, and especially that we're not just anyone. We are Christians.
Seventh Adventist.
And Seventh-day Adventist Christians.
We're gonna go for a break. You may take a glass of water. We are coming back, and we are going to discuss still the online culture and digital identity. Stay right back.
Why study at AIIAS Online? AIIAS Online is conceived to widen the reach of graduate-level Christian education beyond geographic limits. Its fully online programs utilize current and globally accepted online learning standards that assure learning at its best. Here are the characteristics of its online classes, making AIIAS Online your best choice for your online study. To cater to the needs of working adults, online courses can be studied at flexible times within course deadlines, anytime and anywhere there is internet access. To provide real-time experiences, online classes utilize video conferencing, that is geared towards improving student connectivity and teacher presence. To build learning communities, online classes are designed to be interactive through discussion forums. To maximize student engagement, learning activities are designed for active participation by students and are learner-centered. To address the interest of students, course content and projects are contextualized with direct community application. To make sure that God is at the center of every class activity, online classes begin with God's Word, written with a Christian worldview, and utilize mission-oriented class activities. To fully experience Christian education at a wider school level, AIIAS Online organizes a school-wide online week of prayer every year. In addition to online spiritual retreats and online chapels that are organized by some classes.
Hi, this is Pastor Doug Van, and it's an honor to be here with you on this Engaged in Mission Week of Prayer with AIIAS.
To ensure excellence and academic quality, online courses are peer-reviewed and are evaluated using globally accepted standards of online education. AIIAS Online makes sure that its world-class Christian education is the most affordable and accessible globally. As such, it has now served students in more than 70 countries around the world, making every class a truly multicultural environment. Apply now. Achieve your education goals. Experience online learning at its best.
So welcome back to the episode where we are talking about digital identity and online culture. So before we went on our break, we talked about what we share online and what not to share online. But there's this question that I wanted to ask for both of you. Maybe we'll begin with San Miguel, because you begin to say that what people are creating content for likes, for to be seen, to be followed, but who they are all out of those contexts does not even match their personal life. In fact, it's the same thing with your son. So can we then, actually there's a paradox, and the paradox is some people will post good things on Facebook, Bible verses, but if you come in contact with those people in through real life, you want to be scared, because what they post, it does not match with who they are. So how can we break that paradox? San Miguel, I know you're not much on Facebook and everything, but how can social media? How can we break that paradox of matching your true identity with your online content?
I think we have to understand that what we find in the internet, most of them are for entertainment content. So as I said, actors and actresses, they create content and they are not themselves. So you should not be surprised if you find somebody else in real life. There are others who are very genuine and they post or create content for getting confirmation of what they believe, or they want to find support on what they are doing. And I think those are more genuine of what they are doing. But you can tell easily based on the profile, on the history of their content, and find out the difference between if they are acting or not. But sometimes children cannot tell the difference, and they believe everything what it's in the
That's the catch.
in the
That's the
internet,
catch.
and it's being exploited to make money out of them. They can, for example, visit or even play videos that are entertained for them, and each view makes somehow money to the author. So I think that we need to understand that you don't need to expect they are the same person. They can be acting.
They can be acting, and acting, the Bible calls hypocrite. Similar to
Similar, right?
Similar.
Right.
But look, this is like the entertainment industry.
Yeah.
So you cannot tell an actor or an actress an hypocrite,
Yes.
because that's their job. They are doing that. So the same is there. So once you understand they are doing this for content, you have to
Respect.
yes, and pick the good parts from there. Even for this person who posts Bible verses there, you pick the good, and yeah, you have to select.
Correct. Say Faelmar.
Yeah. Well, you're asking how we can break the parents. Actually, that's a very difficult question to answer because right now we don't. There is no one way of doing it.
Alright.
Yeah, there is just one way. There's no one way of doing it. Maybe, perhaps if another content maker has a better influence than the other one, but that's not really happening because if you can see the trend, what people consume is what entertains them,
Correct.
what makes them laugh, and sometimes even what makes them go sad. So if you are not into that trend, that question may not even be relevant. Well, breaking the paradox, you can't really stop them. And again, Miguel he mentioned a while back about confirmation because there are others. Like I said, it goes even beyond the money. Some people, they don't want the money. They just want whether or not what they have in mind can be supported by others, and what they are thinking is actually being affirmed by.
Yeah.
And so there are people who wanted affirmation, and then because of that, they make more of this type of content, and then it gets affirmed. I remember one time, a friend of mine says, "Look, have you seen this guy on Facebook? What about this guy? Yeah, because he just like bashes the government." And so I said, "All right." He showed me the video, and I just I just viewed one of the episodes. And then after that, I've sort of like observed what was something there, and then I told my son, look, okay, because right now he's already following the guy.
Okay.
Okay, he is already following the guy. It's because of how the guy delivers, and he was saying something about the government and even processes in the government and this and that and this and that. I was able to relate, but I told myself, look, you have to notice how he is delivering the content. There may be truth in what he is saying. Okay, there may be truth in what he's saying, but there is another element to it. And so when I told him my view of the same, let's say of the same concern of this person, he says, "Wow, that's a totally different take."
Correct.
That depends on the perspective. And then for Christians, and Miguel is saying, look, in the perspective of the Christian, we can't really judge them because they're acting, that's their thing. It's their profession. And we don't even know whether or not in real life they are like this, or they can even be more, like, I'm not sure if there was also a podcast that Elon Musk was being asked about Jesus, and they were laughing, and then Elon Musk got serious, and then they were surprised with what he was saying. I mean, I can't really say exactly the same words, but it was in the lines like, look, it would appear as if he is a scientist, yes. But he believes that Jesus' approach in things and in life is effective.
Wow.
And so, meaning, and this is what really strikes me, he said, you don't even need to be a Christian to prove what Jesus is saying is correct.
Wow.
Because he understood it. And so I said, oh wow. So that is really something there. So we have perceived Elon Musk to be this arrogant guy, and then, and then you can't really say, because that would mean that he might somehow have read, have known about, because he knows the teachings.
Yeah.
He knows the teachings, and he seems like he was applying it on how he runs his business, and he affirms that Jesus' method is actually effective.
Yeah.
And this reminds me, Ed, with the series that you guys have done.
Yeah.
What is Jesus' business method? Was that it?
Christ method of
Christ
management.
methodology. And
Christ
so
method
that
of management.
Elon Musk affirms that. Yeah. So again, going back to your question, it's very difficult to break that paradigm because we don't really know. Yeah, we don't really know.
Could it be? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, it just drills down into how we perceive.
Yeah.
It's the same topic, it's the same subject, it's the same issue, but different people have different perspectives. Yeah.
Could it be that the way we are being, people know us, it because what others have said? Could it? That's one. It also could it be the way people perceive who you are? Maybe the way you post things on social medias. That's why some people, in terms of ages, they are more reserved. They don't like to post, not because they don't wish to post, but because they feel if I post, what will the next person think of me? So there's also that reservation that people brings along of posting, and I'm very careful when I post something, particularly when there are other people's in the pictures on the content that I want to post. I first ask their permission. That's one, because it goes on air and many people can see, it's public. And the second is, if what I wrote it's not what you wish me to write, can you please tell me if I can mend the words? So that is one. We are actually towards the end of our conversation, but let me ask you one question for both of you. Being in this do I say it online, in the internet business, you know the best and the worst of the internet. What advice could you give to our followers, to our viewers, in terms of their digital identity? Maybe I'll begin with Sir Miguel and then Sir Faelmar. What advice will you give to someone who is watching right now and say, well, I'm trying to have a digital identity on social media platforms, but since I'm a Christian, I'm failing to really be consistent. So what advice will you give to that person?
It's called the right to forget. Computers remembers everything.
Yeah.
So you have to think ahead, think what you're going to post, because once it's out there, you can delete it. But somewhere, that content is already cached, or somebody already took a screenshot. So you don't know if it really was wiped from the internet. So be careful from what you are posting. The other thing is to protect your digital identity, because that's also the one you use for your managing your accounts or your businesses. You separate accounts for each use. You don't use the same email when you log into Facebook, and also the one for your bank account or other businesses you have. Use different accounts, different passwords, of course. So you can spot when you get phishing attempts in your inbox, that you see this email is asking for a bank transaction in an account that I never use for bank. So you can tell easily that it's not legit. So that will be those two. One, think ahead what you're sharing, what you're going to share, because it cannot be deleted.
All right.
And the other one is
Use separate accounts. Very good. Thank you. So Faelmar.
And again, the question is if the viewer is kind of like floating to whatever his or
maybe
her
for the younger viewers,
identity, right?
Yeah, identity.
Well, I think there will be two approaches there. I mean, two different focuses. So let me focus on the non-Christian and non-religion, so to say, non-religion side. Look, when you say identity, this is how people would look at you and how they would know you, but it drills down into who do you know yourself, or do you know yourself?
I want you to look at that camera.
So we say, when you say know thyself, so if you know yourself, you know what you're going to get yourself into.
Correct.
And this is going to be the direction of the type of identity that you would like people to see you. My youngest son, he was complaining because he's both the bully and then have been bullied, and then he was also complaining it is because he's like this, and it also happened here. That's why I pulled him out of AIIAS, because of his mischievousness, that already painted a picture, and his image is already painted on the picture of people here in AIIAS. And so there was one time I was passing by the gym. This small boy throw a stone on the window and then broke the steel window glass.
Yeah.
And so when he broke that glass, I said, why did you do that? No, Maher did it. And he was blaming my son. My son wasn't even there. My son's at home.
Yeah.
And so why was this? And so this is now the identity that he painted on people.
Wow.
And so I told my son, this is because this is what you wanted. So even with, religion aside, what do you really want people, what do you really want people to see you and identify you? Who are you?
Yeah.
So if you know yourself, let them know you.
Yeah.
And so that's the other way. In the Christian way, in the Christian view is that, sometimes you say, oh, it's their culture. I feel bad when Christians say that, especially if you're a Seventh-day Adventist, and then you say, no, it's okay because that's their culture. There's only one culture.
Yeah.
Our culture is the kingdom of God. And so if you seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, okay, all of the things that you'll be thinking will be added unto us. And then, Jesus said, I am the vine, and then you are the branches.
Yeah.
So if I am the vine and you are the branch, you should be the express image of the vine.
Yeah.
And so in either way, if you are thinking of identity, whether online, offline, or even in your family, you have to know yourself. You have to let them know who you are, so that they wouldn't judge you and they wouldn't paint a different picture of you that you don't like.
Correct.
Because you might say, no, I'm not like that, but that's the image that you are trying to imprint on them.
Yeah.
You say, no, well, it's just content. Yes. And because of that content, they are now looking at you that you are this content.
Correct.
And so you have to be very careful. And going back to what he was saying, you have to think in advance. You have to really think before you are going to engage in this thing. So we have this identity crisis, not only online, offline. Identity crisis is real. It is real. And there are some who have lost their identity. They were born male and then they become female all of a sudden. And then their identity.
Yeah.
What do you want people
To know.
to see and what to know? Who you are. Because who you are is really very important.
Correct.
And I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And for us Christians, we know that to live is not our life, but to live is with Christ.
Good. So it's with these thoughts that we are concluding our conversation about digital identity in online culture, who you are and what people should know about you. This is It's Not in the Syllabus, and I was being privileged of having Sir Miguel and Sir Faelmar with us to understand the conversation. Until then, make sure you subscribe, follow, and comment to our podcast. See you.